In our previous class, we understood about the security aspects, right? Is it security aspects or what did we discuss?
Security.
Security aspects, right? So let us move forward and understand the different aspects of the administration as a part of this class. So we have learned about the security aspects. So what next? I'm talking about the admin aspects. Like when we say security, right? Have you ever thought how the whole fabric system is managed? Okay, in a way, I already answered that question. Okay, that is through Microsoft Fabric Administration. How this whole system is working. Somebody has to do something, right? So that is through Microsoft Fabric Administration. Now, who will do the administration?
Admin people only.
Administrator. Okay. In order to understand how the whole systems work, we need to understand the administration. Administration is done by Fabric Administrator, collaborates with the business users, data analysts, and also different teams managing the IT infrastructure and all those things. Okay. So why does he do that? To deploy and utilize the fabric in a way that meets the goals of the particular project or a company, adhering to the policies and standards, and also to minimize the cost as much as possible. So they are utilizing the fabric in a optimized way to achieve the business goals and also keep the tab on the cost as well. That is how the fabric administrator does the job. When we say fabric administrator, he does the administration, it involves different tasks like ensuring the platform is used efficiently and effectively within an organization. That is one of the important aspects. Then, in order to do the administration, fabric administrator has to be well versed with the tools which are used for the administration purpose, and also how he or she has to configure and oversee the environment to align the organization needs. Okay, these are the important aspects. Before we really get into the fabric administration, let us recall the fabric architecture we have learned. Does anybody in the class remember the fabric architecture?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please tell me, what do you remember?
Fabric architecture means in the first layer, Azure Data Factory, Azure
Mhm.
Synapse, data science, data engineering, and data analytics, Power BI. So many things are there. And
Excellent. So, in the fabric architecture, we have a one leg as a common storage layer. On top of that, we have different modules like data factory, data engineering, data warehouse, data science, real time intelligence, Power BI, and all this is governed by Microsoft Purview. And we have a AI module, Copilot, to help in multiple aspects of the fabric. This is how the Microsoft Fabric architecture is there. I think if you recall, we have covered most of the modules as a part of this course, if you remember. Right? I hope you guys remember. So, one important thing is this fabric, which is SaaS, is nothing but a software as a service for data analytics. It is an integrated all in one solution. Whenever things are simple, integrated, all in one, then it is easy to handle them. Okay. In a way, it reduces the administrative tasks, it reduces the administrative overhead while covering all the aspects. Since it is a nicely integrated all in one platform, the administrative overhead is reduced. One important thing, na, again, as a developer, you may not require to know all these things, but if you know, it will be easy to deal with the other. Like as a developer, you have to interact with the fabric admins, right? You have to. Okay. If you know the admin aspects better, your tasks will be done faster and efficiently. Okay. So that's the thing. So, and we are talking about the within administration. In order to administer the fabric, we need to know the architecture. The architecture of the fabric is in such a way it is integrated. Because of that, administrative overhead is very less. So now, before we really understand the nitty-gritties of the fabric administration, let us understand some concepts. Okay, let me bring in the very nice diagram conceptually. It doesn't look very nice. Okay, I have already shown this to you guys earlier, but let me bring up that again. This is the diagram I'm talking about. Have you guys seen this earlier?
Yes, sir.
I have already
Yes.
explained this earlier once. Okay, let me explain this again. Whenever, if you guys remember, a license is bought by an organization, then Microsoft Fabric tenant is at the company or organization level. We have already discussed about the capacities, SKUs and all. Okay, so the capacities, we have dedicated compute and storages. That is the capacity. Within the capacity, you have multiple domains. Domains can be finance, sales, marketing, all these are domains. Within the domains, there may be multiple workspaces. Workspace 1, workspace 2. Okay, workspace for the financial reporting, workspace for the budget analysis. And we already know within the workspace we have items. Okay, this is the hierarchy. I have already explained you guys earlier. I am explaining you now because these are important concepts from the administrative perspective. Okay, so we have tenant. Within tenant, there are capacities. Within capacities, there are domains. Within domains, there are workspace. Within nothing but data items. Is it clear? So simple, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Let us move forward and understand them in a bit more detail. When I say tenant, what is tenant according to you, Malini?
It is like an account in the fabric for an organization.
Now, tenant is nothing but a dedicated space for creating and managing the fabric items for a company, for an organization. Okay. The way, assuming that Malini has one big building with 100 houses in that, or rather she owns one this itself, right? Community itself, which has multiple this one. Okay. So assume that community is a Microsoft Fabric. Okay. Now each villa is provided to one tenant, one individual. In the same way, Microsoft would be managing the resources, can be hardware resources can be software resources from the data side. So when you allocate those resources, fabric and respective hardware resources to particular organization, that is a tenant. Okay, and it is aligned with the entry ID. Okay, as we discussed, we'll have a entry ID at the organization level. Okay, and then capacity. Capacity comes within the tenant. Now, some guys would be wanting to have 2-bedroom house. Some guys may wanting to 3-bedroom house. So depending upon the requirement of an organization, some resources will be dedicated, right? Then we have a domain. So instead of allocating the workspaces in a very random way, we'll group the workspaces according to the some logic. Sales, is it for marketing, is it for finance? That is a domain. Then we have workspace. We already know workspace really well. You guys have created a workspace. So workspace is nothing but a container. For what? For creating the data items which uses the capacity. Okay, that is a workspace. And we already know item. Items are the ones which does the actual work. Okay, so we understood all the important concepts at a high level. Let us little bit, one more layer will drill down in the important concepts. Tenant, the represents the highest level boundary aligning with the Microsoft entry ID. Okay, Microsoft entry ID is there at a organization level. Okay, which is also called as Azure AD. So we already know tenant will be at the organization level, and tenant contains multiple capacities, we already know that is already represented as a part of the. So when we talk about the users using the fabric, all the policies, all the controls apply at the tenant level until and unless you go further level down. Okay, all of them apply at the tenant level, but you can definitely tweak the controls at the different levels as well. That also can be done. When we talk about the capacity, so it defines the available computing power. Okay, when we create the items as a part of the workspace, those items consume the resources from the capacity. Okay, depending upon the need of an organization, need of a project, either we can increase the capacity or we can decrease the capacity. It's elastic. Okay, we can either increase or decrease. Okay, so far so good. It is easy, right? It is very simple and straightforward, right? Then the domain we already understood. Instead of randomly creating the workspaces in isolation, we group the workspaces based on certain logic, certain business functions. Okay, that can be sales, marketing, and finance, and we can provide the governance, security, compliance controls at the domain level. We can also do that. If you remember, the controls are applied at the tenant level. If you remember, what I said is, while it is applying at the tenant level, we can also tweak those controls at the different levels also. That is what I'm just bringing up again here. We can have a governance, security, compliance at the domain level as well. Okay. And when you create the workspace under a particular domain, all the controls, security, what you have applied at the domain level, that are inherited by workspace. That means workspace will also have the same control, security, and compliance controls of the domain. You tweak it until and unless you modify it. Okay. Workspace, we already know workspace exists inside the domain and it has a associated capacity, how much you can use. So workspace is a, obviously when you create the data items, multiple users are using the data items. Obviously all those users have to work in collaboration to make the things happen, to make the project successful. Okay, so again we can also have the permissions at the workspace level also. That also can be done. Items in workspace, I'm talking about the data items like such as data warehouses, pipelines, lakehouses, reports, and dashboards. Okay, so they consume processing power, capacity which is assigned to a particular organization. I mean, obviously, user has to collaborate on these items within the workspace. Wonderful. What I did is I introduced the concepts at a high level, and I also went one more layer down of these concepts. Any questions on the concepts?
No, sir.
No questions? Okay, wonderful. Let us move forward. So we got a glimpse of architecture, which we recalled, okay, and also we understood important concept. Okay, so let us understand the roles in a fabric administration. What are the different roles? Okay, admin tasks. There are different admin tasks. First and foremost thing is security and access control. As a part of the security access control, administrator is responsible for providing the access based on the roles, okay, and configure the gateways and manage the access via Microsoft Entra ID. Okay, because each one in an organization is given a Microsoft Entra ID. Through that, he or she controls the or manages the access of all the things. It can be at item level, it can be at workspace, it can be at a capacity, it can be at a domain, it can be at a tenant level. Okay. Then the data governance. Administrator is also one of the main stakeholder of data governance by securing the connectivity, monitoring the usage, and also applying the governance policies and control the data access. Like Does it need to go through HIPAA? Does it need to go through Sarbanes-Oxley? What kind of a policies our organization data has to comply to? That will be for that to happen. Administrator is one of the main stakeholder. Okay. Then we have customization and configuration. Okay. So as I said, everybody doesn't need to have a all the access of all the things, right? There is a definitely customization required at a project level, at a user level, at a item level. That need to be taken care with the admin. And whether the platform is performing at its peak, do we need to know, do we need to have more capacity or less capacity? All these things can be again done by Fabric admin. All these aspects, he or she, whoever is the admin, they are responsible for them. So now we understood what are the tasks of an admin. How will admin perform the tasks?
By giving access
Okay,
to the
Based on
roles.
the use cases.
based on the use cases. Any other thoughts?
So from admin portal, he can.
Okay, very good. But what do you call that as the admin portal? So now let us say, in order for the admin to perform the task, he needs tools. He or she needs, and one of the tool is already mentioned by Anna. So we have different admin tools like Fabric admin portal. There is something called PowerShell commandlets, admin APIs and SDKs, and admin monitor. These are the tools through which admin can effectively carry out the tasks which we mentioned earlier. You guys are with me so far?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes.
admin portal is very, very simple. Okay. It is a centralized management for all platform settings and tenant configurations. Okay. So as Anna said, we can do the admin tasks by using a admin portal, which is very, very important. Whoever is a Fabric administrator, he or she spends lot of his or her time on the admin portal. Okay. One of the thing is you can make the key setting called Fabric on or off to enable or disable the Fabric for your tenant. Okay. So I mean it is understood. I mean if you are working in a Fabric, obviously tenant should be on. Okay, but you can do the on and off depending upon the okay. And also if you see it has, is it applying to the entire organization or specific security groups or except security? Okay. Multiple options are there. Okay. Then we have PowerShell commandlets. Okay. CMD LATC. Okay. So there is a, I mean, PowerShell is one of the important command prompt within the Microsoft, which used for automating the administration tasks for the groups and data sources and usage. Okay. The admins can use the whoever is good in the command to automate the tasks, they can use the PowerShell command. And then we have admin APIs and SDKs. So whenever Fabric has to be connected with the other tools, that is when admin APIs and SDKs come into picture. So as long as you are getting all the things within the Fabric, data items and all those things, you no need to worry about the APIs and SDKs. But the moment you have to connect to other applications, other platforms, other tools which are not native to the Microsoft, that is when you have to use the APIs and SDKs. The Fabric administrators also need to have a knowledge about this. Okay. So the last one is within the tools we have monitoring workspace where you are tracking the performance and future of, you can see capacity and multiple aspects of the Fabric can be tracked as a part of the monitoring workspace. So we have learned about the admin tasks and admin tools. Now is the time to manage the security and also govern the data. We understood so far the what and all the done by a administrator and by using what tools he would do it. Now in the end, how would he do it? What he needs to do? Okay, that we'll just take a look. Okay, so when I say security, some of the important aspects of the security is like assigning the access according to the rules. That is another important. That happens through the license. Now control user access and functionality by managing the licenses. Okay, and through that they are ensuring the compliance with the data protection laws, like as I said, HIPAA, Sarbanes-Oxley, and all those things. Okay, and also GDPR, which is one of the important law within the Europe. So like that, we can control the user access by managing the licenses. Okay, and also we can manage the license agreement through Microsoft 365 Admin Center. Okay, so we already know this. User licenses are the ones which will determine which user has a access to which functionality. Okay, so what we are discussing here is how does the administrator allow or manage the security of the fabric. That is what we are discussing here. And we can manage the items and sharing by using a permissions control. Like same thing is extended further. Okay, you give a certain permissions to certain users of not everybody would need to have access to everything. You give a access to certain users in a certain way. Okay, like data warehouses, data sets, report, and all. Okay, so we already discussed about this. If you remember, enforce the least permissive rights. Don't give everything. Try to provide as minimal access to the different users. Okay, workspace distribution. Like basically, obviously, in a workspace, you'll have a data items. In the data item are not used only by the one user. Okay, so we need to also have a sharing or collaboration of the workspace. Okay, and we can control whether the aspects, data items, workspace need to be shared internally and externally, or qualified whether is it within the fabric or within the organization or outside the organization also. This is how you ensure the security is implemented by managing the items and sharing. Okay, we understood the how the security is implemented within the fabric. We also need to know how do you govern the data, because the data is the main product of a fabric. Fabric is a platform for a data analytics. You need to understand how do you govern the data. We govern the data by using these four important things, like endorsement, scanning the sensitive data, tracking the data lineage, reporting on the. So the governance of data has multiple aspects. That itself is a very big topic. Even I am trying to understand more and more there. But governance of the data in a fabric in a very simple way can be done by these four important tasks or these four important ways. Any idea what is endorsement?
Validation, verification, and validation.
Okay. What happens is when the main product or the main thing what we are using is in a fabric is a data. How do you know whether the data can be trusted or not? So through endorsement. Endorsement is a way for an admin to designate a particular data item or a fabric items as a trusted and approved for use across the organization. You're getting right? So you are using a lot of data. Now fabric admin will endorse a particular data item so that it can be trusted and used across the different departments in an organization. Okay. So whenever the items are endorsed, they are marked with a badge to signal reliability. There is something called promoted content. So what happens is now the data item is endorsed. The admins or contributors can promote their content so that other workspace members can use that particular data. It can be promoted. See, we're talking about how do you govern the data. These are the different within the fabric. Now, the last thing is certified content. I mean, within the endorsement, I'm saying. So, in order to say a particular data item or a content is certified, it has to go through a rigorous formal review and also approval from a designated reviewer. Certifying a content is much more serious affair than the endorsing a content. Okay, it requires a formal review. Whenever you certify a particular data item, they are displayed with a certified badge. Admins are the ones who will manage the certification process. Okay, this is about the endorsement. Endorsing a item, promoting a item, and certifying a item. That is what we do as a part of the endorsement. Then we talk about a lineage. Okay. When I say lineage, Malini, what comes to your mind?
Hierarchy or
Correct. You are absolutely right. Okay. So when you say lineage, don't worry about the data. Talk to me about a lineage in general. Our father, our parents,
the
their
source.
parents, their
Yeah.
parents, their parents. That is lineage, right? So
Yes,
in the
sir.
similar way, we can also track the data lineage. Okay. Data lineage is nothing but the tracking of the data through Fabric, understanding its origin, transformation, and destination. Right from the data creation until it is used, how the data is going through a different transformation. Okay, that is why is it important? Any idea?
In the history.
Very good.
Sir, we can identify the patterns from
Actually,
one
yeah,
stage to another stage.
yes, absolutely. So now we are playing with the data. Okay. So we are creating the insights and patterns at a regular intervals, right? Okay. Now, in case if you find any issues with our insights, we can always say, where is this data coming from? Now, if we don't have that lineage, we may start assuming some things about the analysis or patterns. Okay. So if you have a lineage, you would know where is this data coming from, what transformation it has go through. You will be able to properly take the decisions. Okay. That is how the lineage is also important. Okay. Lineage is also part of the governance. The next important thing is scanning for the sensitive data. What is sensitive data according to you, Anna? What is sensitive data?
So data which is holding very crucial or very important.
Absolutely.
Like
Okay.
secret
So,
informations.
yeah, secret. I mean, basically, see, sensitivity can be defined by an organization, okay, depending upon the regulatory requirements like GDPR, HIPAA, Sarbanes-Oxley complaints, CCPA, and all these things. Okay. So, and sensitivity can be defined based on the impact. What is the potential legal impact? Okay. And obviously, person identity information like SSN, Aadhaar number, and all those. Okay. So, as a part of the governance of the data, you also need to scan for the sensitive data. That can be done by metadata scanning. Okay. So, they have a scanner API to scan the Fabric items for the sensitive data. They would have given a rules to that. That rules will scan the data in the Fabric items for the scanning the sensitive data. Okay. This particular metadata scanning, which is there as a part of Fabric unstructured. So as a part of the administrative job of a Fabric administrator, you are supposed to configure the metadata scanning before it can be used in an organization, so that it can scan for the sensitive data and classify them or mask them and do some. So that is one of the important. Now, once you do all these things, you can also use the Purview Hub to govern your organization data estate with the insights on the sensitive data, item endorsements, and the domain. Basically, you can report on the various aspects, not only sensitive data, on the different aspects, like how many data items are having endorsements, how many data items are certified, what is the sensitive data. All those things can be reported to the relevant stakeholders. Okay, so this whole thing, this Microsoft Purview Hub, which can be used to report on the different aspects of the data in a Fabric, also can be connected to data catalog and information protection, DLP, edit, and all those things. Okay, that also can be connected. That's all for now. Like and subscribe and turn on notifications for future videos. Thank you.